The liberal perspective is to deracialize crimes such as drug possession and mass incarceration, because a lot of times you see that it's often minorities and non-white people that get incarcerated for non-violent crimes.
These type of discussions, they truly, in my opinion, show you how privileged America really is, even though we don't like to say it. Nobody likes to admit it, but these discussions truly show you how privileged we are.
I want you to think about sociological issues, debates and issues related, say, to this class. So race, gender, class, culture, national origin, sex. So we're going to talk about sociological issues related to this class, a wide range of issues. Most sociologists lean liberal. And so could be an easy one. I come in, I'm a sociologist, I'm liberal. I have my perspective, I have my agenda, and I want to make sure that you all understand certain things. What am I assuming about race and gender and cross-cultural relations and so on and so forth?
Tend to be a little more lenient on, care more about social issues and prioritize them over economic issues.
Social issues like what?
We go back to it's very pro affirmative action, very pro LGBT. Many are.
But what is it about affirmative action or LGBT? Why those issues? What do they mean from a liberal perspective?
They think that the government should step in and help because they're discriminated against in history.
Okay, so there's discrimination.
Yeah.
And so we got to come forward and we got to, do something with that.
A liberal perspective would be a lot more towards social programs to a lot of people, mostly people who are, I guess, in more difficult situations because of their not only race but also class. So you're going to see more food stamps, welfare, more kind of efforts to bring these areas up from poverty.
Invest more money in education system.
Okay, so more money to the educational system, especially we really want to put the money at the bottom to help people move up. Got you, as opposed to the top. What else? Anything else?
Usually smaller military as well, especially a smaller global presence.
Because
it's not really seen as America's place to get involved into these issues, and it's not very peaceful at all. It's kind of digging us into holes that we can't really climb out of at this point.
So it's not peaceful, and by not being peaceful, it means that bad things happen.
Maybe one is if with the conservatives, they were more you're as an individual, you should take responsibility purely for whatever happens to you. You just take hold of that. Liberals are a little more.
I'm in a senior class right now where we have to do this really big senior project. I'm talking about a huge project. And my biggest concern is, making sure that I can write this paper in time, making sure that I have a long enough presentation to, present to my class. Oh my God, I need to make sure I finish by Friday. I'm worried. That's my biggest concern in life right now. In another part of the world, somebody my age, probably born the same month as me, young man, his biggest concern is, how is he going to feed his family? How is he going to feed himself? His biggest concern is, I'm never going to get out of this caste system that I was set in. I'm never going to move up the ladder. His biggest concern is, I have to work these slave mines until the day I die. And the reason I bring that stuff up is because when we have these type of debates on, I guess, what liberals support versus what conservatives support, they support more of a socialism, funneling money into systems, or they talk about lowering the power of our military. And when I hear that, I'm like, wow, how are we able to do that stuff? How are we able to live so peacefully, so soundly within our country? How are we able to never get invaded? How are we so safe that we can't even fathom another country invading us? We're so safe that when it comes to our military, we don't even see a use in them. That's how safe your life is here. You're so safe that you don't even see a use in a military. My thing is, that's how you know it's a good military. Because you're so sound here that you can't even fathom something bad happening to you. Or it's so much money in the economy. You can't even fathom government assistance not existing. You can't even fathom affirmative action not existing. Because there's just so much money. Whereas in other countries and other places, they're not worried about that. They worry about how they're going to eat. Literally. So I'm not trying to bash what their thoughts are. I'm just putting it into a different perspective. Hey y'all, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe.
More lenient and think more of like maybe the context or the cultural aspects that maybe cause you to do something or put you in the position that you're in. So
Got you.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So while conservatives are saying, hey, we want you to have as much freedom as you can have so that you can be the person that you're really meant to be, the liberals are saying, yeah, but there's a social context within which everybody lives. And maybe bad things happen to you, in which case maybe you need a little boost or a little help.
As opposed to saying it's like dangerous to focus on some of like the stratifications in our society, like they'd say to focus on those things and say there's like a real actual impact that like race and gender do play, but to not focus on those things only keep us further away from like solving the issues.
Okay, solving the issues.
And reaching like equity and equality.
Okay.
In terms of military spending, liberals tend to think that there should be more cuts to a military budget and not war overall in general.
And why not war?
On a lot of the issues, because they're more social than anything else. They feel as if war is not necessary and there should be more talking and involvement with our government.
Okay, got you. Is that true for crime, by the way?
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
It's true?
I'd say a liberal approach would be more prison reforms, especially like when it comes to like drug offenses and nonviolent drug offenses.
Right, so like legalizing cannabis and so on, right? Why do you do that?
Because it's their choice. Like, if they want to smoke, they can smoke.
Okay.
The liberal perspective is to deracialize crimes such as drug possession and mass incarceration, because a lot of times you see that it's often minorities and non-white people that get incarcerated for non-violent crimes.
Everyone should be equal, but we're really not at the end of the day, because there's a lot of socioeconomic barriers that people have to face, and there's a lot of other issues that may not let certain groups succeed in the ways they want to. So that's why you have like welfare programs, and why a lot of upcoming like liberal.
And I love videos like this. I love videos like this because it kind of, these type of discussions, they truly, in my opinion, show you how privileged America really is. Even though we don't like to say it, nobody likes to admit it, but these discussions truly show you how privileged we are. Because believe it or not, in other places, their biggest issues aren't our issues. Their biggest issues are starvation, malnutrition, climate change, earthquakes destroying their homes. That's their biggest issues. But here, our biggest issues is this. And the fact that we're even able to focus on this type of stuff shows you how privileged we really are. It always boggled my mind when people said, you know, we need to start defunding the military. We need to start funneling money into government programs to, you know, increase, what's the word I'm looking for? Diversity. I don't even think diversity is the right word, but increase, I don't even know what word I'm looking for. It always like boggled my mind because it shows a complete lack of awareness to me. Like, you would take money from the area that's dedicated to protecting your land. Like, you just think other countries just don't want to come here and take natural resources. You just think it just doesn't want to happen. But I'm not going to get too deep into that. I'm not.
To reform how college is paid for and things like
Okay.
that.
What are liberals missing?
I'd like to preface this by saying not all liberals, but most liberals miss the processing of all the information or all the different perspectives that they're open to. They sometimes lack that. For example, pro-LGBT, right? Being LGBT, or take drugs, for example, like weed, right? Not all liberals are for weed, right? Some still believe that it's a gateway drug. You have to be able to take just the science, you have to take the sociological aspect of it, you have to take the economic aspect of it, combine, process all that information, and then give your own opinion before jumping the gun, before selecting one aspect only.
There's a lot of barriers in society that keeps people down, and there's a lot of them, so we can't tackle all of them. What I would say is missing is like, there's a lot of change that happens. Like,
what I say is, the question was, what are liberals missing? And her answer was, there are a lot of barriers in society, and we aren't able to tackle them all. I will go even deeper than that. I will say people are missing the fact that in a natural world, most people aren't able to tackle barriers. Most people are so held down that they can't even fathom tackling the barrier. That's kind of what I would say. And the fact that you even have the ability to tackle some barriers shows that you're way more privileged than you think. And don't let that go over your head. And I think in order to even think like that, you have to have at least some understanding on how other countries work around the world. The fact that you're even able to fathom tackling like barriers where you think everyone in your country or everyone in your land deserves exact equal opportunity. Where in history has that ever happened? Like, ever. The fact that you're even, that's a real thought, like that's a real like possibility. That's what you're missing. The fact that you're able to have that much freedom and opportunity. That ideal is what's missing, in my opinion. And I'm not saying liberals are wrong. I'm not saying that. But you have to acknowledge that if you really want to make real change.
there's a lot of stuff that evolves over time in regards to like environment, people, and there's a lot of different identities and a lot of different limitations, and they're all an issue, so we can't tackle
so it's
it.
like it's like that liberal, like these the liberal mania, right? It's just like the overzealous liberals, like, oh my God, how many issues are you going to put on your shirt? You know what I mean? Like, we're going to just we're going to just change the whole world. We're going to redefine it. We'll call God down and say, please, God, can you start over?
Sometimes like they try to pretend that they accept everyone, but ironically don't accept like conservative views as well, like being hypocritical.
Yeah, okay, all right, yep.
A lot of times we kind of forget that most people are like well-intentioned people. So it can come down to like a LGBTQ issue. We as liberals kind of like take that as like a, being pro-LGBTQ is like a normal thing to be, whereas for maybe some conservative people it's just maybe it's a faith-based thing or something. It's just not their way of thinking. It's not necessarily like meant to be harmful. It's just kind of like a way they think and kind of education.
So I think sometimes liberals need to also consider the perspective that conflict is sometimes necessary, that sometimes if all fails, conflict is not always bad as well. And there are justified reasons for conflict, and hierarchies also exist for a reason sometimes.
So liberals don't like rules, right?
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So I'm going to step away from race for a little just to illustrate an example. So like, for example, like not liking more like rules. For, in class, I can think of, like I paid for this class, so I can pull out my computer, I can pull out my iPad, and I don't want rules. But then like not rules are bad because, for example, let's say you say, okay, I'm very conservative.
One thing I love about the traditional liberalism is the fight that comes with it. Like when I think of liberalism, when I think of the original definition, I think of fighting for what you want. And I think that is something that's extremely important. Because in the Bible, who fought for what they wanted? Jesus Christ. He died for what he wanted. That level of passion and that level of fight is something that I think is really nice. Like, if you think something should change, you need to be willing to change it. And that's what I assumed, I guess, a liberal was. Like, you want change, I'm willing to change it. And that's something that I think is extremely important. Because the standard, I guess, conservatism, I don't know, is keeping things the same. But the standard liberalism is things need to change. And sometimes things need to change. It's an extremely important part of society. And I don't want to diminish liberalism as if it's something wrong with it and upload, I guess, conservatism. Because no, they're both extremely important. But my thing is, one cannot coexist without the other. Conservatism, some things need to stay the same. Because some things are good in the world. Some things are important in the world. In liberalism, some things need to change. But you need to coexist. You can't just be like, everything needs to change or everything needs to stay the same. That doesn't even make sense. Like, the world changes. But some of the things in the world are good. They exist for a reason. So, I'm going to stop the video right here. It's getting kind of long. If you want a part 2 to this, let me know in the comments. The video is titled, if you want to watch it, What Do Liberals Believe? Hashtag SOC119. I'm going to repeat. What do liberals believe? Hashtag SOC119. People always say I don't put the video in the comments. And there's a reason I don't do that. But I'm not going to get into all that. It's LFR Jojo, and I'll see you next.